इसी तरह स्नेक्स इन द गंगा आप पढ़ेंगे तो आपको पता चलेगा कि आने वाले समय में क्या क्या होने वाला है, हो रहा है, लेकिन हमारी जानकारी में नहीं है। और खुद स्वामी विवेकानंद जी के ऊपर 60 साल से उनको डिस्क्रेडिट करने का काम एकेडमिकली चल रहा है। इसकी जानकारी इंदिरा नेट पढ़ने के बाद मुझे पता चली। यहाँ कितने बैठे हैं, कितनों को पता होगा पता नहीं। रामकृष्ण परमहंस के बारे में जिस प्रकार से भद्दी थीसिस लिखी गई, और स्वामी विवेकानंद को नियो हिंदुइज़्म, नेशनलिस्ट, मस्कुलर नेशनलिज्म, ये सब के प्रणेता स्वामी विवेकानंद थे। और वो जो हिंदू था, उनका हिंदुत्व वो असली नहीं था, वो मस्कुलर था। वास्तव में जो हिंदुत्व है वो तो बड़ा सॉफ्ट, हिंदू जो है सॉफ्ट फेमिनिन ऐसा रिलीजन है, उसको उन्होंने मस्कुलर बना दिया। ऐसी थीसिस 60 साल से काम चल रहा है
कि वेदास इज द कॉज ऑफ ऑल द प्रॉब्लम्स इन इंडिया, वेदर इट इज विमेन, वेदर इट इज माइनॉरिटीज, वेदर इट इज कास्ट, वॉट एवर, पॉवर्टी, सब कुछ उन्होंने अपनी कॉजेशन थ्योरी बना रखी है। तो आई डिस्कवर द कॉजेशन थ्योरी दैट अदर पीपल आर मेकिंग अबाउट आवर ट्रेडिशन, देन आई कैन फाइंड आउट कि उसमें क्या फॉल्ट कहाँ है, पर क्या पर उनके फ्लॉ है। कॉजेशन थ्योरी इज नॉट एवरीथिंग इज रॉन्ग, बट उनमें कई ऐसे फ्लॉज हैं। इफ यू कैन पिन पॉइंट वेयर द एरर इज, देन यू कैन आर्ग्यू बैक वेरी प्रिसाइसली। द pre-Christian religions in Europe, Americas, etc. do not have Shastra. They don't have a learned tradition. They don't have the Brahmin type people who codified the knowledge. It was just passed on informally through practice. I do the puja this way, the children learn. It was not, there was no actual parampara system to codify the knowledge, make it formal Shastra and teach it. Something like Natya Shastra wasn't there, something like Dharmashastra, Arth Shastra, all the Vyakaran, the grammar, these kind of codified knowledge was not there. So the codification of Vedic knowledge has been a very important factor in our survival, because you can burn all the physical things, all the assets, but since the knowledge has been codified, even one surviving copy is enough to revive the whole system again.
Let me start by introducing the guest today, Shri Rajiv Malhotra Ji, best described as the New Age Rishi. He was born in Delhi and now a citizen of USA for many years. A successful IT entrepreneur, he had occasion to read Wendy Doniger and her camp followers that led him to his journey of self-discovery, understanding of Hindu Dharma, and counter anti-Hindu literature and arguments. He spent long time with his guru in India while he began his research. All this deep study resulted in a few books, few with quote unquote. While the West-based Indology scholars did not bother about Rajiv Malhotra Ji earlier, first ridiculing him and then abusing him as an incompetent person with no relevant research background to comment on their work, they had to later acknowledge him finally and even hold seminars to criticize his views and arguments. Rajiv Malhotra Ji has called for a strong Indian narrative based on its own ancient philosophical foundation, the way China is doing now. China has refused to bow down to pressure from Western institutions and normally accepted civilizational narratives. It has invested hugely in creating its own narrative and presenting global philosophies in that light. Ratan Ji describes Rajiv Malhotra Ji as a modern day Rishi because he has sacrificed his all and devoted prime years of life for self-realization, for study to serve Dharma. Like any Rishi with strong beliefs, he does offend some people, but considering his seminal contribution, we should accept him as he is and absorb his teachings for our own sake as a society. He is an international best-selling author, researcher, speaker, public intellectual, and founder of Infinity Foundation. He also serves as chairman of the board of governors of the Center for Indic Studies at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, and is on the advisory board of the Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla. All his books are based on well-marshaled arguments and research and are available today to pick up while he will be signing some of them towards the end. So let's be patient with the signatures, but yeah, he will do as much as he can. Some of the recent ones are Varna Jati Caste, 10 Heads of Ravana, The Battle for IITs, The Power of Future Machines, Snakes in the Ganga. Let's welcome Rajiv Ji to Seva International Masik Milan with a great round of applause. So Ratan Ji, we are all aware of Ratan Ji. Ratan Ji has been awarded a PhD for his thesis on RSS. He is an author, columnist, and a very frequent renowned TV panelist. He has written 9 books, of which 7 are on RSS, 1 on Guru Nanak Dev, and 1 on disaster management. Ratan Sharda Ji has traveled extensively in and outside Bharat. He was jailed during 75 to 77 in the days of emergency. He was an ERP consultant for 2 decades in addition to varied industrial experience of 2 decades. He was a founder secretary of Center for International Studies, Mumbai for 8 years. He is an advisor to many educational institutions and voluntary organizations. We have Vilas Bhagwat Ji. He is an electrical engineer, runs his own business, and from the RSS point of view, he is Mumbai Mahanagar Sahakaryava. We also have Ravindra Sanghvi Ji. He also is a business owner, and from the RSS point of view, he is the Vibhag Sanghachalak. I request Ravindra Sanghvi Ji to kindly facilitate the guest today, Rajiv Malhotra Ji. Kesar.
क्योंकि राजीव जी इंग्लिश में बोलेंगे इसलिए मैं हिंदी में बोलूँगा। आप सभी का इस कार्यक्रम में बहुत स्वागत है। बहुत कम होता है कि राजीव जी को हम ऐसे पब्लिक प्लेटफॉर्म पे मिलें। मुंबई में कई बार आते हैं, चले जाते हैं, लेकिन पब्लिक प्रोग्राम होते नहीं। सौभाग्य से इन 3 दिनों में हम 3 बड़े कार्यक्रम करने वाले हैं। ये पहला कार्यक्रम है। मैं राजीव जी का स्वागत करता हूँ मुंबई में। मेरा राजीव जी का पहला परिचय आज से कई साल पहले, विनोद भीमराज जी यहाँ बैठे हैं, इन्होंने जो पुस्तक भेजी, अमला रैया जी ने एक पुस्तक इनको भेजी कि क्या चल रहा है। वो पुस्तक थी इन्वेडिंग द सेक्रेड। जगह जगह फ्लैग लगे हुए थे, येलो, ढेरों फ्लैग। और विनोद जी बोले पढ़ो, देखो क्या है, इसका क्या होगा। और जो मैंने पढ़ा वो बहुत शॉकिंग था। मुझे पता नहीं आप लोगों में कितने लोगों ने इन्वेडिंग द सेक्रेड पढ़ी है। राजीव जी के और कई लेखकों की सुलेखा.com के ऊपर कई आर्टिकल आए थे। पहली बार AAR, अमेरिकन एकेडमी ऑफ रिलीजन को ओपनली चैलेंज किया गया था। इंडोलॉजी का जिस प्रकार से प्रेजेंटेशन एकेडमी में हो रहा था, उसकी जानकारी भी वहाँ के लोगों को नहीं, यहाँ के लोगों को नहीं। उसके सामने राजीव जी ने मुहिम चलाई। जैसा कहा पहले कि काफ़ी उनको विरोध का सामना करना पड़ा, लेकिन वो लगे रहे। और जैसे कहा कि कई सालों से, आज कम से कम 30 साल मुझे ध्यान में आ रहा है, इफ़ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग, अराउंड 30 ईयर्स राजीव जी ये काम कर रहे हैं। और अपनी कंपनी इन्होंने अपने लोगों को दे दी टोकन के नाम पर। डिटेल में नहीं जाऊंगा, ये भी ज़्यादा बात करते नहीं, लेकिन ये महत्व की बात है। और हमको ये भी पता नहीं होता, जैसे इंदिराज नेट जब मैं पढ़ रहा था उनकी पुस्तक, उसके बाद मुझे गणेश हरनाल बैठे हैं यहाँ पर, गणेश हरनाल जी, उन्होंने 2 पुस्तकें मुझे दी, बीइंग डिफरेंट और ब्रेकिंग इंडिया। बीइंग डिफरेंट अपने आप में बहुत ही डेफिनेटिव बुक है, और ब्रेकिंग इंडिया का जो नया रिवाइज्ड और मच बिगर संस्करण आया है, उस समय ब्रेकिंग इंडिया 1 आई थी। ब्रेकिंग इंडिया 1 पढ़ के मैं इतना बेचैन हुआ था, पुस्तक पूरी नहीं कर पाया। लेकिन मुझे पता चला कि जो भी संघ के लोग काम करते हैं, विशेषकर नॉर्थ ईस्ट वगैरह में, वो पुस्तक स्पेशली पढ़ते हैं अपनी जानकारी बढ़ाने के लिए। ऐसी एक फोरकास्टिंग वाली बुक थी जिसके बारे में लोगों को पता नहीं था। लेकिन घटनाएं हमारे सामने एक एक करके आने लग गई। इसी तरह स्नेक्स इन द गंगा आप पढ़ेंगे तो आपको पता चलेगा कि आने वाले समय में क्या क्या होने वाला है, हो रहा है, लेकिन हमारी जानकारी में नहीं है। और खुद स्वामी विवेकानंद जी के ऊपर 60 साल से उनको डिस्क्रेडिट करने का काम एकेडमिकली चल रहा है। इसकी जानकारी इंदिरा नेट पढ़ने का मुझे पता चली। यहाँ कितने बैठे कितनों को पता होगा पता नहीं। रामकृष्ण परमहंस के बारे में जिस प्रकार से भद्दी थीसिस लिखी गई और स्वामी विवेकानंद को न्यो हिंदुइज्म, नेशनलिस्ट, मस्कुलर नेशनलिज्म, ये सब के प्रणेता स्वामी विवेकानंद थे। और वो जो हिंदू था, उनका हिंदुत्व वो असली नहीं था, वो मस्कुलर था। वास्तव में जो हिंदुत्व है वो तो बड़ा सॉफ्ट, हिंदू जो है सॉफ्ट फेमिनाइन ऐसा रिलीजन है, उसको उन्होंने मस्कुलर बना दिया। ऐसी थीसिस 60 साल से काम चल रहा है। और साथ ही राजीव जी ने जो किया कि पूर्व पक्ष की जो अपनी एक वाद विवाद की एक पद्धति थी, उस पूर्व पक्ष को दोबारा एकेडमिक फील्ड में लाए, दोबारा उसके ऊपर शुरू किया कि पहले विरोधी को समझो, उसका उत्तर दो और उसके बाद में अपने आर्ग्यूमेंट रखो। ये जो हम खो चुके थे कला, इसको बहुत प्रखर रूप से इन्होंने रखा। और जो सब धर्म समान है, इनका आक्षेप, कईयों का आज और भी आक्षेप बड़ा है कि जो हमारे मन में भावना थे सभी धर्म समान है, सभी धर्म वही मानते हैं। तो राजीव जी ने प्रखर रूप से रखा बीइंग डिफरेंट में कि सभी धर्म समान नहीं है। विद ऑल डी रिस्पेक्ट वी आर डिफरेंट, हाउ वी आर डिफरेंट, उसको बहुत अच्छे तरीके से उन्होंने प्रेजेंट रखा। और वो पुस्तक भी अपने आप में डेफिनेटिव पुस्तक है। और कंपैरेटिव स्टडी ऑफ रिलीजन्स जो हमारे यहाँ बहुत ही कम है, हमारे धर्मगुरु ने कभी कंपैरेटिव रिलीजन पढ़ा नहीं, चाहे वो सनातनी रेगुलर जिसको हम कह सकते हैं मठों से निकले हुए गुरु हो, चाहे वो मठों से निकले गुरु हो या न्यू एज गुरु हो, कोई इसमें पढ़ता नहीं। मैंने एक यूट्यूब पे बहस देखी थी जकीर नायक और श्री रविशंकर जी की, और पूर्ण रूप से उसके अंदर उसने पूरा अभ्यास करके जिस प्रकार से उनको सब बताया, और श्री रविशंकर सभी धर्म समान है इसके आगे बोल नहीं पाए, तो कंपैरेटिव रिलीजियस स्टडी कितनी आवश्यकता है ध्यान में आया। आइडिया ऑफ डाइजेशन, यानी जो शेर होता है वो बकरी को मारता है, गाय को मारता है, उसकी जो आवश्यक चीज़ें ले लेता है, बाकी चीज़ें फेंक देता है। इसी प्रकार से चर्च किस प्रकार से भारत की सारी फिलॉसफी, हिंदू फिलॉसफी को डाइजेस्ट कर रहे हैं, इनकल्चरेट कर रहे हैं, और किस प्रकार से बाकी चीज़ें फेंक कर उसको बेनाम कर रहे हैं। हम जानते हैं माइंडफुलनेस, विपश्यना का नया नाम माइंडफुलनेस है। इस प्रकार से कॉन्शियस ब्रीदिंग, प्राणायाम का नया नाम है। क्रिश्चियन मेडिटेशन भी आया है। ये सारी चीज़ों के बारे में बहुत पहले राजीव जी ने सावधान किया था। और उनका एक और भी मत उन्होंने रखा कि पश्चिम जो है वो क्योस से घबराता है, एनार्की, क्योस जो अपने समाज में दिखती है आमतौर पर, उसको ऑर्डर चाहिए, उसको डिसिप्लिन चाहिए। इसके लिए यूनिवर्सलिज्म के नाम पर सभी को पश्चिम के अनुशासन में, पश्चिम के कल्चर में बांधना, इसका प्रयत्न भी कर रहे हैं। एक बात और जो मुझे इंटरेस्टिंग लगी, पॉइजन पिल की बात वो करते हैं कि अगर हिंदू धर्म को बचाना है तो उसको पॉइजन पिल निर्माण करने पड़ेंगे। जिस प्रकार से पॉर्क्यूपाइन जो होता है वो उसका शिकार इसलिए हो पाता है कि उसके शरीर पे कांटे हैं, जेंटल प्राणी है, लेकिन अगर हमला होता है तो अपने कांटे निकाल लेता है। तो ऐसे कौन से कांटे हैं जो हिंदू धर्म बता सकता है जिसको पचाने के लिए बाद में अब्राह्मिक रिलीजन को कठिन हो जाए, ऐसा भी उन्होंने बताया। और संस्कृत की आवश्यकता, संस्कृत के जो किस प्रकार से संस्कृत टर्म्स हम नहीं ट्रांसलेट करने चाहिए, ये परम पूजनीय गुरु जी बहुत पहले कहा करते थे कि धर्म और इस प्रकार के जो भी शब्द हैं इनका हम इंग्लिश ट्रांसलेशन नहीं कर पाते और करना नहीं चाहिए। तो उसके ऊपर राजीव जी की पूरी पुस्तक है। और मैं इनको मैंने कहा एक आर्टिकल में लिखा था, जैसे कुछ अंकित ने बताया कि ही मे बी टेक कॉल्ड एज एन रैंड ऑफ रिलीजन, हिंदू रिलीजन। अगर किसी ने एन रैंड पढ़ा, आजकल फैशनेबल नहीं है, लेकिन कैपिटलिज्म की एकदम एक्सट्रीम पोजीशन लेने वाले, अनकम्प्रोमाइजिंग, ऐसा एन रैंड का स्टैंड था। इम्प्रैक्टिकल होगा, सबको समझ में नहीं आता होगा, लेकिन क्लैरिटी अबाउट व्हाट इज़ ब्लैक, व्हाट इज़ वाइट एंड व्हाट इज़ कैपिटलिज्म, व्हाट इज़ नॉट, इसकी एक उन्होंने एक प्रखर रूप से एन रैंड ने विषय रखा था। इसी प्रकार से हिंदू धर्म, भारतीय फिलॉसफी, इसके बारे में प्रखर रूप से एग्जैक्टली हम हैं क्या, वो किसी को पसंद आए ना आए, बिल्कुल बिना लाग लपेट के जो राजीव जी ने विषय रखा है, उसके कारण उन्होंने एक नया वातावरण एकेडमिक स्टडी में रखा है और इसके कारण उनका इतना नाम है। अभी जब हम इसकी बात करते हैं स्नेक्स इन द गंगा 2.0, ब्रेकिंग भारत 2.0, तो उसके अंदर ऐसे बहुत से आयाम हैं जिसके बारे में हमें बिल्कुल अंदाज़ा भी नहीं है। हमें लगता है हम बहुत जानते हैं, मैं अपने आप को मानता था कि मैं बहुत कुछ जानता हूँ, मैं पढ़ता हूँ, रोज़ टीवी पे आता हूँ, बहुत कुछ पढ़ना पड़ता है, कई विषयों के ऊपर सतही तौर पे हम बात भी करते हैं, बहस भी करते हैं, लेकिन जो उस डेप्थ में जाकर राजीव जी ने और विजया जी ने, आज आई नहीं है वो, जिस प्रकार से विषय रखा है, पढ़ने के लिए पेशेंस चाहिए। 650 पेज की किताब है, लेकिन पढ़नी आवश्यक है। आप उसको एक एक करके धीरे धीरे पढ़िए, एक एक चैप्टर पढ़िए, एक एक सेक्शन पढ़िए। लेकिन भारत के विरुद्ध जो षड्यंत्र चल रहे हैं, हिंदू धर्म के विरुद्ध षड्यंत्र चले जा रहे हैं, और किस प्रकार से बहुत ही ज़बरदस्त नेटवर्क है जिसकी कल्पना भी आप कर नहीं सकते, जिसका जाल अंतर्राष्ट्रीय, भारत सब जगह है। तो उसको कह सकता है कि शायद जेनोफोबिक थॉट है, लेकिन अगर पहली ब्रेकिंग इंडिया 1 सही सिद्ध हुई तो 2.0 भी सही सिद्ध हो सकती है। ये समझने के लिए विषय आधा घंटा काफ़ी नहीं है, लेकिन राजीव जी आधे घंटे में विषय का इंट्रोडक्शन करेंगे केवल, प्रश्नोत्तर के लिए ओपन रहेगा फोरम, और उसके पहले अपना विषय रखेंगे। लेकिन ये विषय की गहराई को समझें हम, और ये पुस्तक अवश्य लें और पुस्तक अवश्य पढ़ें, ऐसा मेरा आग्रह है। और आपकी आंखें खुली की खुली रह जाएंगी। मैं सोच रहा था कि लिखते समय और लिखने के बाद में राजीव जी को रात को नींद कैसे आती होगी। इतना इसके अंदर ऐसा चित्र है कि आपको आश्चर्य होगा, आपके नाक के नीचे चल रहा है, आपको पता नहीं है। और ऐसे बहुत सारी बातें, बहुत सारी परिभाषाएं जो हमें जानकारी ही नहीं। जैसे मैंने स्वामी विवेकानंद के बारे में उदाहरण दिया कि 60 साल से काम चल रहा है पश्चिम के अंदर, इसी प्रकार के हिंदुत्व के ऊपर काम चल रहा है। डिसमेंटलिंग हिंदुत्व एक सेमिनार नहीं था, उसके पीछे सालों की मेहनत थी, और इसके पीछे बहुत एक वेल क्राफ्टेड नेटवर्क था। उसकी जानकारी भी इस किताब के अंदर है। तो मैं इस शब्दों के साथ में और अधिक समय नहीं लूँगा, मैं राजीव जी का स्वागत करता हूँ, अपना विषय रखें।
नमस्ते। Thank you for inviting me, and thank you Ratan Ji for a flattering introduction. I don't know if I deserve that, but he's very kind. He's been a wonderful friend who knows me for a very long time. So it's been many years since I visited Bombay. I think last was before COVID, 2-3 years before COVID. So much has happened, and I want to just give you a little overview, so you can then decide, how to question me, cross-examine me, discuss, debate, whatever. Now, the one way to do it is to introduce a little bit about 3 or 4 books that are recent. One thing which is common, since I cover many topics, people want to know, why are you talking about this topic, then that topic, no 2 books, the same topic, what is common? So I'll tell you what is common. जो cause effect है, एक cause है, उसका effect होता है. That is the basic of science. You discover cause effect. What is the cause of tides? What is the cause of, eclipse? If you understand the cause effect, then you can do engineering, you can make machines, because you know how it works. So this is called causation, and हमारी संस्कृत में is called karma. It's karma. The कर्म का फल होता है. Cause effect. But karma is little more broad and deep than simple causation in physics. More deep. पिछला जन्म भी, अगला जन्म भी हो सकता है. The cause can be more complicated, effect can be more complicated, but it is causation. I generally karma theory is causation. लेकिन social science जो है, it studies causation in society. It says कि ये social oppression है, उसका क्या cause है. So they will say कि ये तो caste cause है, और caste का cause है Vedas. So वो causation theory बना रखी है उन्होंने कि Vedas is the cause of all the problems in India, whether it is women, whether it is minorities, whether it is caste, whatever, poverty, सब कुछ उन्होंने अपनी causation theory बना रखी है. So I discovered the causation theory that other people are making about our tradition. Then I can find out कि उसमें क्या fault कहाँ है, पर क्या तो उनके flaw है. Causation theory is not everything is wrong, but उनमें कई ऐसे flaws हैं. If you can pinpoint where the error is, then you can argue back very precisely. So this is the common thing I like to do. I like to understand the causation theory which is driving other people's arguments and our arguments. हमारी भी causation theory है. Our Vedanta, all our Nat Shastra, all our Dharmashastra, Arthashastra, full of causation theories. लेकिन जो West की causation theory है, it is very different from ours. Very basic different. उसके starting point, उसके assumptions बहुत अलग हैं. So if you understand that, that is the Purva Paksha. How to understand the other side's way of thinking. उनका सिद्धांत क्या है? इसको आप सिद्धांत भी कह सकते हैं. The causation theory can be also looked upon as Siddhant. Siddhant is a sort of a way of arguing cause effect. जैसे आप कोर्ट में जाके argue करते हैं. It's like that. So, social science is one of the primary culprits of all the problems we are facing. कि जो social science है, वो Vedic social science नहीं है हमारी country में. जो सोशल साइंस है वो यूरोपियन वेस्टर्न सोशल साइंस पढ़ाई जाती है. The NCERT books on sociology are all teaching about the Western philosopher, thinker, social thought, यहाँ वहाँ की. And the UPSC exam is also based on that. And people who are educated in humanities and social sciences, they basically know Western thought, Western social thought. They do not study our thought. So, because of that, it's either confused, they are easily fooled, they get very angry and emotional when they feel hurt, but they cannot give a very thoughtful response. This is the problem. So, we need to create social sciences, Vedic social sciences. Now, few days ago, I was launching this book, Varna, Jati, Caste, which is a toolkit to respond for our children, our adults, parents, gurus, teachers. You know, we are always criticized and attacked, and then we give some response from here and there. But this is like 150 pages toolkit how to answer back. Many things inside this. I would encourage you to take a look at it. When this book was being launched, two of the persons on the dais were very eminent, well-known thinkers of Hindu Dharma, big authors. So I said, why don't we have Vedic social sciences? Actually, the problem is so serious, they did not even believe that we don't have it. They thought ki hai. And the mix-up is, they started quoting कि हमारी tradition में ladies को ऐसे अच्छा treat किया जाता है, we are very tolerant, we respect, बहुत diversity है, कितने देवता देवती हैं, देवीज हैं, कितने कुछ है diversity. I'm not talking about practice, I'm talking about social theory. There's a difference between practice and social theory. We may a good chef making idli, he doesn't need to have recipe theory, he just needs to know how to do it. But there is something to be said for developing a theory which teaches. Because only when you have a theory, you can turn it into pedagogy, into training, into curriculum. Then you can teach it on a large scale. Then it survives for generations. So I was arguing with them the importance of having theory. Now the interesting thing is that one of them is a pioneer in the study and teaching of Sanskrit grammar, Ashtadhyayi, Panini's Ashtadhyayi. So I reminded him that Ashtadhyayi is also, Panini says he took practices which were already there. He did not invent new grammar. He did not invent grammar which was not already there. He said the bhashas that people are speaking, I have gone around and understood what is the bhashas they are speaking and I have codified it into a theory. मतलब जो भाषा लोग बोल रहे हैं, जैसे भी बोल रहे हैं अलग अलग देशों में, अलग अलग इंडिया की लैंग्वेजेस में, तो वो उसको हमने सूत्रा स्टाइल में कोडिफाई कर लिया. So there is importance in this because you are teaching it. Otherwise, bhasha was already there. Natyashastra is codifying the dance that was already there. So codification of practices has a value. But in social science, we have not done it. That doesn't mean कि हमारी society में अच्छी बातें नहीं हैं. We have great qualities, but we need to codify it into a social science. and then the sociology of Vedic sociology can be taught. This is an important this thing I'm finding, that our scholars lack appreciation for the need for a Vedic social science, because they keep mixing it with practice which we already have. In fact, if you ask me, I was at a conference with people who are called pagans in Europe. Pagan is not the right term. They call themselves Wicca. These are people who were before Christianity came. They were very much like Vedic. They had female goddess. They had many, many deities. They believed in similar things, nature worship. So these people, pre-Christian, were very much like us. Similarly, in the Americas, North America, South America, they were like us. So in this discussion I was having with the leaders from those traditions, one of the questions was, why is it that similar things like Vedas, Vedic tradition, they also had, but when they were attacked with the monotheism, with the Abrahamic religions, Christianity and Islam, they were wiped out and we were not. You can't say their temples were burnt and destroyed, even ours were destroyed. You can't say there was oppression against them, even against us there was oppression. So what came out is this, it is a very important point, please note. The pre-Christian religions in Europe, Americas, etc. do not have Shastra. They don't have a learned tradition. They don't have the Brahmin type people who codified the knowledge. It was just passed on informally through practice. I do the puja this way, the children learn. It was not, there was no actual parampara system to codify the knowledge, make it formal Shastra and teach it. Something like Natya Shastra wasn't there, something like Dharmashastra, Arthashastra, all the Vyakaran, the grammar, these kind of codified knowledge was not there. So the codification of Vedic knowledge has been a very important factor in our survival, because you can burn all the physical things, all the assets, but since the knowledge has been codified, even one surviving copy is enough to revive the whole system again. This is very important to remember, the importance of codifying knowledge. So if we are so good, we have codified knowledge about plants, codified knowledge about, in Ayurveda, about health. So much codification, why not social theory? This is a very important point. So what I'm proposing needs to be done could be called a Dharmashastra for modern Bharat. We need a Dharmashastra for modern Bharat. That's a new smriti. Smritis have to be rewritten. Manusmriti says smritis are different for every time and place. And what is good in one place may not be good in another place. What is good in one time may not be good in the next period. And you have to update the smritis. Shruti is permanent, but smriti is changing. So we need a new smriti for today, because the Indian constitution is not a Veda compliant smriti. The Indian constitution is not a Dharmashastra as per Vedic philosophy, Vedic metaphysics. This idea of liberty, fraternity, equality, rights. Vedic idea is responsibilities. Not just rights, but responsibilities. Very big difference between teaching people what are your rights, and they all fight, mere ko ye right hai, mera ye right hai, you violated my right, I need more right here, there, and you have conflict, versus teaching people what is my responsibility towards family, towards my own body also, towards nature, towards society, towards Rashtra, what are my responsibilities? So a responsibility-based social science would be very different. The current social science we are having is all based on Western metaphysics. So this is why the constitution is also like that. It's basically the 1935 document which the British made. That act was kind of modified a little bit and turned into our constitution. So every person who knows about constitution will tell you that the constitution is not something original. We did not start from scratch. We did not start from Vedic premises. We just basically started from what the British had done, and we said this is our constitution. So we definitely need social sciences, starting with Dharmashastra for today, which would be like a new constitution. People are criticizing the constitution. That doesn't mean they have an alternative on the table. I'm looking for people should be able to say, okay, here is my proposal. We have to be able to discuss that. We don't have that. So why don't we have it? We have been, by now we should have at least had some proposals, some ideas to think about. So I'm suggesting we need to do that. Now the reason I'm picking on this is the following. As long as we are following Western social sciences, we are trapped in something I call Western Universalism. In one of my books long ago, came up with this term Western Universalism, meaning whatever experience Western had in Europe, whatever there was their experience, they said this is the universal experience. जो उनकी philosophy है सबको होनी चाहिए, जो उनका religion है सबका होना चाहिए, जो उनका social structure है सबको वही डालना चाहिए. In fact, from the time of Hegel, Europeans were saying, your present, they were telling the Indians, your present, the way you are today, was our past. जैसे आप हो हम थे पहले, लेकिन हम आगे बढ़ गए. And our present is your future. जैसे हम आए आपको बनना पड़ेगा. So this idea is Western Universalism. So when you accept the Indian, not taking on our own social structures, social thought, and accepting the Western, we are debating in their terms. We are arguing, even when we are arguing, we are using their terminology, their framework to argue. We are not able to say that, look, I don't know about all this, here is my framework. So one of the books we did is called Sanskrit Non-Translatables. It's available there. This was a chapter in the book being different, but made a whole book out of it. What this says is that there are certain terms in Sanskrit which have no English equivalent. English में वैसी बात ही नहीं है. So Varna, there is no equivalent. You cannot say some racism or something. Varna or Jati, there is no equivalent, and they have nothing to do with, they are not like the same as caste. Shakti is not energy, because energy is not intelligent, energy is not conscious, energy is not feminine. Shakti is all of those things. So, and of course, Shakti has energy, but it is more than just energy. And Pran is not just breath. वो तो heart lung machine जो होती है hospital में, there's a doctor here. Heart lung machine has got breath, but heart lung machine is not going to become enlightened because it is doing pranayam. You can't teach pranayam there because it does not have pran. So our gurus have made this mistake. They've started Atman ko soul keh diya. Soul is not the same thing. Soul animals don't have. Atman to even plants have. And soul is always separate from God. And soul, people are born sinner because of original sin. The Atman is not born sinner, any problem. So when you adopt the framework of another civilization, you start reasoning in their terms. You say idol, murti ko. Idol is not presence of the deity. यहाँ पर हमारे सामने अग्नि को बुलाते हैं, वो Agni is here. देवी को बुलाते हैं प्राण प्रतिष्ठा, and Devi is here in that form. So it is not only that we are worshipping the stone, we are worshipping the Devi present in the stone. The stone is like the sthul sharir, the outward, but there is a being inside. Idol में नहीं आई है. So these are some examples of the non-translatables. There's a whole philosophy of non-translatability of Sanskrit and many, many examples. I also turned this into a video series. We have 50, 60 video episodes. Me and Satyanarayan Das Babaji, who's my co-author, we made a video series. So, we have to come up with what are the non-translatable categories of our society, social sciences mein. And using those, come up with our own theory of society and constitution and so on. I know all of us here are fond of RSS. I'm not RSS person, but I like RSS. I have to tell you that. I have great regard for the senior people I have met. They are very good friends. They've helped me a lot. And RSS, rank and file have always been my allies. Wherever I go, they are very fond of me. I'm fond of them. So I defend them. I'm openly protecting and defending and saying, I'm not an RSS person. If you want to know official policy, you have to talk to them. But I will tell you why I'm aligned with them. But one thing I have to say this to you as a friend. Rashtra should not be translated as nation. Rashtra is not the same thing as nation. And this is a very important point. In fact, I'm writing a book on Rashtra myself. So I consulted one of the senior persons in the Sangh and want advice and want to know what is Sangh's view. So they gave me a lot of reading literature, and it's very good. But I want to go deeper. I want to go to the Vedic meaning of Rashtra. So I have found that in the Vedas, the word Rashtra is over 30 times. It's used, 72 times used. I found 30 references, Rashtra. And Rashtra is not the same as Rajya. That is another thing. It's not the same as Rajya. And you can argue whether the Rashtrapati we call is really a Rajapati or Rashtrapati, based on that person is head of state. And Rashtra is more than sort of a state institution. So I feel that non-translatability can lead us to developing our own social thought, political thought. And we have to go back to Dharmashastras, Arthashastras. We have to look for the thought from the Itihas, in the Ramayana and the Mahabharata and various texts, and come out with what can be taught as school level, college level, UPSC exam level, put in our new constitution. We really need to do that. And so this Varna Jati caste basically is a critique of what is commonly known about the caste system and why we feel, writing this book, that all that is full of bias. Now the reason we wrote this is because of another problem which we call battle for IITs. Now you might say, IIT ka kya problem hai? So in this book, Snakes in the Ganga, one of the chapters is on the attack on IITs by Harvard. The attack is that IITs are casteist by design. Not that there are some example here and there. वो तो Harvard में भी racism है, सब कुछ है सब. But they are saying that caste equals race. Casteism is racism, like in the American sense, blacks versus whites. Dalits are the blacks of India. Non-Dalits are the whites of India. And IIT is a institution with the structure of this kind of racism. So this is very serious allegation. Very serious allegation. And this is written by Professor Ajanta Subramaniam, a Harvard professor, Indian, herself a Brahmin, written this book. And this is published by Harvard University Press, the world's most prestigious academic press. And this is on their syllabus. वो सब सिखा रहे हैं for many years. हमारे लोगों को जानकारी नहीं है. And this is going to all the colleges and universities in the Western world because Harvard का नाम इतना बड़ा है. Harvard is such a big name. And then there is a Suraj Yengde, a Dalit, who they've invited as a fellow of the Kennedy School of Governance in Harvard. And Shri Yengde ji is radical anti-India, anti-Hindu, radical in the ultimate, what you can say. He says strange things like 5 lakh Dalits have been killed by Brahmins in 10 years. I mean, where does he get this statistic from? And the Harvard people accept it without any documentation and no verification. They accept it, which is against the academic standard. They're not supposed to accept these things. So Suraj Yengde is doing all this, and Ajanta Subramaniam is doing all this. And then there is somebody called Saundarya Rajan in New York. She started an organization called Equality Labs. And they claim that they've done survey of all the Indian tech workers who go work in Microsoft and Silicon Valley and all those tech companies. She claims that they have found huge number of Dalits being oppressed by Brahmins. And again, the data is not there. It's just a few stories here and there. But this became news. It was picked up by Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Washington Post, CNN. And this became very big news that, do you know, all the tech workers we think are great for our economy, but they're bringing racism. This casteism is worse than racism. And they're bringing it to our country. So this became a very big problem. And then an African black lady joined it. Her name is Wilkerson. And she wrote a book, big book, on that caste is the origin of racism. Caste is the origin of racism in America. This kind of book. And this is New York Times #1 bestseller. She's a Pulitzer Prize winner. And Oprah, Book of the Month, going around giving talks and very, So, when all these things are coming together in the last many years, I kept asking, where are the IITs? Unka to attack ho raha hai. Where is the Indian government? Their national industry is being attacked. Most of the tech workers, not only IITs, all of them are affected. Most of them are on some visa and the Indian citizens. Government has to help them. No help. No help. Where are the gurus? Why is nobody helping? So then some of these people started calling me because these other side, the people opposed to us, they filed a lawsuit against a big tech company called Cisco. They filed a lawsuit in California that Cisco has hired Brahmins who are racists oppressing Dalits. And so under the American laws of racism, they filed a case. And then Cisco has to defend, of course they are defending it. And the Brahmin who's accused, actually he's not even a practicing Brahmin, he's a secular fellow, he's not anything to do with Hindu, but they just picked it as an example. So he also talked to me because he also needs some advice and whatnot. So then the fear went everywhere because of the news. Everywhere this is news that Indians, Hindus attacked are basically bringing racism to America. And this H-1B visa should be caste-based quota, this kind of stuff. So this has been happening for years, but nobody here bothered. So then the young Indians, tech workers in Microsoft started calling me. You are the only one who could help us. The consulate in San Francisco don't want to help us. They're very scared. ये वो controversial हो जाएगा sir. ये तो उनका काम है help करना. Why should they duck? And then nobody wanted to help. So you please help. Then I got the same kind of messages from people in Facebook and one or two other tech companies. PayPal. Some people there called me. So now what has happened is that these people like Saundarya Rajan are going around offering caste workshops to all the tech companies, pharmaceutical companies, automobile companies, banking, finance, wherever there are a lot of Indians, they're going and saying that you should know, you might get in trouble like Cisco, but we will train you how to avoid caste bias, what is the history, why these guys are biased, how to tell if somebody's name is Iyengar, what it means. Like that, they have made a list of people to look out for. Profiling our people. It's blatant as that. So, some of these caste sensitivity workshops are going around and the people training charge as much as $75,000 per hour for training. Now, if you are Microsoft, you will pay because it's peanuts. And just pay them off, maybe they'll leave you alone. So, some of the tech companies are bringing these people, conducting workshops. So, I get calls from people, our Indian people, saying that it's very insulting. We have to sit and listen for many hours, and they keep telling all in front of our white friends, this is our history, we're caste people, we're biased. We don't let this person drink water and he cannot be sitting next to us, and this is all untouchability, all this kind of stuff there. And they have videos, they have a lot of material to make it very sensational. So what has happened is, now some cities in America have started passing ordinances against casteism as a form of racism. Many universities, starting with Harvard, have made laws equating casteism as a form of racism. So now it is becoming like government policy. There is also a cell within the European Union wanting to protect Dalits as a form of blacks, kind of race. That is a race that the Hindus are oppressing. So you see, that's why I wrote this book, The Battle for IITs, to tell our IIT people that you got to do something. Now, in a few days, I'm going to go and have a conversation with IIT Bombay and other tech places. And Ratan Ji knows there are two kinds of people, those who want to talk and those who want to have nothing to do with it. They don't want to discuss this. And I'm telling those faculty people that your students, when they graduate, they go out and work, they will face this bias, this stigma. They should know about it. They should know why people say this, how to talk back. This is a toolkit, how to talk back, how to answer back. This is a toolkit. So then this Varna Jati is, two of them are together. The battle for IITs is what is happening, what is the fight going on, what is their argument. The Purv Paksha about them is the Purv Paksha about them. And the Varna Jati is our response, how to answer back. So this is the kind of work we are doing. It is not very popular. Nobody is going to give me votes for this. If I were looking for votes, this is the wrong thing to do. So all of you who are aspiring to get a job or an appointment or some award, don't do this because it's not going to help you. But if you want to do it for your dharma and you don't care, then this may be something you'd like to do, this kind of work. So this is just an example of the type of new stuff that we are coming out with. One more thing I will tell you. This is another book we have, 10 Heads of Ravana. See, about, I think it was 2019, a year or two so before COVID, I was having my entire team in India, in Rishikesh. We met for 3 days, 4 days to celebrate, to get to know each other. And it was during the Shara time. So we always, during the festival, we always put out some 2-minute, 3-minute message on our Twitter, on our social media. We do a video. So I made a video because of the Shara that Ravana is now an intellectual. And his 10 heads are 10 personalities of Ravana. And each of those, so I had this cartoon kind of thing of Ravana with 10 heads. And each head would come out and say something negative. So one was Shashi Tharoor saying something. And then we had Ramachandra Guha. And then one of your Bombay persons, this Devdutt Patnaik. And then Irfan Habib, like that. And then Wendy Doniger and Sheldon Pollock and Audrey Truskay, these kind of people. So then this was a very big hit. And the group decided that we'll make a book. So this book is after 3-4 years of research, 10 Heads of Ravana. So each of the young people, because one of the things I'm doing is besides my own scholarship, I'm mentoring young people because I'm 72. So we have to train other people to continue this work. This work is going to be needed. The battle is needed for 100 years. This is a 100-year battle. It's not that aapka kaam khatam nahi hoga. It will go on needed for 100 years. So I have to train young people to continue this work. So we have hired people, we give them full salary. This is their career, not hobby. It's not that once in a while, thoda kar diya, YouTube laga diya, kuch bol diya. It's not like that. Full time, they work for us and we give them full-time salary. So this is an example of the kind of work they are doing. So there is an article here on Romila Thapar by Anurag, one on Sheldon Pollock, one on Michael Witzel, one on Devdutt Patnaik, one on Irfan Habib, one on Shashi Tharoor, like that. So we have 10 different personalities of Ravana today. These are the intellectual personalities of Ravana. And each one is a separate article with a young scholar giving response. Now, we're not being rude, we're not defaming, we're not being personal. We're only looking at the work they have done and evaluating the work, not commenting on the person. We're not saying that this man murdered his wife, that kind of thing. We're not saying. Or, this fellow had this scandal and this fellow is corrupt and all. We are not interested in their personality. We're only interested in what they have written about us, and we are evaluating it. So the rules of the project was that every group, every person, every individual writing the article must first read whatever the other person has written before you're allowed to criticize. You can't criticize emotionally because you're unhappy with it. You can't criticize yahan wahan se suni sunai baat. You have to go and read the original, what they have written. And then you mark what you think is incorrect or questionable. Then you go deep into it to investigate that. And you have to quote exactly what the person has written with reference, page number, everything you have to quote. You can't just say, usne kaha tha, because where did he say it? You have to show it. And then your response has to be very well thought out. This way, we took them 2-3 years to write these articles. Then everybody reviewed each other's articles, gave them feedback, critical feedback. Then I looked at it, gave them feedback. Then we sent it to external editors to look at it, give feedback. That is how this book was made. When we launched the book in Delhi University, big packed audience. Before that, we invited all these 10 people to come and listen and argue. We gave them their chapter and said, we have written a critique of your work because you're so important, we have critiqued your work. And we want you to tell us what you think and we will have a discussion with respect. Not one of them came. Not one of them came. So we haven't cancelled them, they have cancelled us, but we haven't cancelled them. So you see, this way we are training our next generation. We're training them how to do research, how to write properly, how to stand up and defend your position, how to present properly, articulate. And so this is the kind of thing we do. There are 3 parts to building a school of thought. We're trying to build a school of thought. We have many books that I have written. I have another 20 books to write. I have to finish 20 books more before I'm done, because I've done the research, written drafts. I have to finish it off, all 20 of these. So we are going to create a school of thought. In a school of thought, you need research material, which is original thought, a whole framework. Number 2, you need to have a following of scholars. So I have a dozen scholars, but I need to hire more. We don't have resources to hire more, but when we get more resources, we'll hire more. I want to train a large number of such people to be intellectual Kshatriyas for the future. That is the second requirement. The third requirement, we need to build an institution which continues beyond the personality. Our institutions often die or fall apart when the founder is gone. So we have to create an institution. Then we'll have a school of thought, a Bharatiya school of thought about our Rashtra, about our Dharma, in our own terms, and not kind of arguing against them using their terminology, but in our terms. So this is a glimpse of the kind of work I do, and I want to thank you for listening. We could go on talking for a long time, but I think it's better to interact and listen to your points of view. I just, during the coffee break, had the pleasure of meeting this lady who is an educationist, and she read my book, Snakes in the Ganga, had wonderful comments. Maybe you can come also, or you can give us your comments to get this discussion started. Thank you very much.
Before we get into discussions, I'd like to formally get the book released from the hands of Rajiv Ji. I request Ravindra Ji is still there to come on stage. Vilas Ji, you can come on stage. Ashok Ji, my oversight, I have not acknowledged the presence of Sri Ashok Chaugule. Ashok Ji, he is International President of Vishwa Hindu Parishad. He is International Vice President of Vishwa Hindu Parishad International. He is here today.
पढ़ने के लिए भी